Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Mojito Movement. I'm joined by Joey today, and before we get started, mate, it's customary. We've got to cheers the mojito. Enjoy, let me know what you think. It's hopefully strong. Yeah, mine is.
That's very good.
Yeah, I've mastered the art of the mojito. So enjoy that. And as it's customary to say, if Dead Man's Fingers or any other form of rum provider is listening, I would welcome a sponsorship for future episodes. But how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really, really good. Thank you for having me.
More than welcome, mate. Thanks for coming on. So, before we get started, introduce yourself. Who are you? Tell the world who you are.
So, my name is Joey Duffy. I am one of these crazy online coaches. Fairly new to the game. My background is military. I was PTI in the Army. Done a degree in sports rehab, done a master's in psychology, now trying to blend it all together.
Nice.
To make the world a better place.
Love it. So for those who may not know where to find you, what's your social media handles? Where can people find you?
Instagram is at Joey the Moo, and on TikTok is the Moo Coach.
Love it. So we'll dive straight in. We'll probably backtrack and talk about how we met and how this all came about, but talk us through the Moo side of things, because until I checked you out on social media, when I met you at IFS, and then I followed you, I had no clue what the Moo meant. I thought maybe he just really likes cows.
Yeah.
But
You're not wrong.
Well, yeah, they're great animals. But tell everyone what it means, because I think it's incredibly powerful, and it's a side of coaching that not a lot of people tap into, probably because they're not in a position to have a deep enough understanding to have the confidence to tackle it. But tell everybody what Moo stands for and what it's all about.
Moo, it's a play on words, and it stemmed from me and a few friends calling each other out for eating burgers, right? I'll give you the context behind it. A mate of mine, his name's Alwyn Gotham. We used Goat for short.
Yep.
Classic military, or shorten your surname. He'd see me eating food, and he'd just call me fat. So I'd do the same thing to him. Yeah. And then it went from fat to you're a fat cow.
Yeah.
And then it went from you're a fat cow to you're a fat cow moo. And then it went totally the opposite way and shortened all the way down to the word moo. And then it became a customary greeting. So we'd see each other and we'd just shout moo at each other.
Brilliant.
And now, fast forward, over 10 years, we see each other in the street and it's moo. So it has so many meanings to that word. So when I decided to become a coach, I was like, how can I resonate with people from a personal perspective as well as from a professional one as well? And I thought, great, I could call myself the Moo Coach, because my Instagram started off as Joey the Moo before I even started going into coaching. And then that kind of developed the brand. And Moo basically stands for mindset, optimize, outperform. So what I want to try and do is, let's use someone trying to lose fat, for example. They're like, I want to lose, let's say, 10 kilograms, step on the scales, look lighter, look better in my photos, wherever, whether that's fat loss or just weight loss. Now, my understanding and my direction I want to go is I want to change someone's mindset of why they want to lose weight or lose fat for positive or negative reasons, so they have a deeper education and understanding of what they're doing, then optimizing that one thing that they want to focus on, whether that's fat loss. And then from there, the outperform is just them battling themselves, outperforming by 1% every day for their entire duration.
I love that.
So that's what the Moo Coach is all about now.
Mate, I love that. Really, really love that. And again, I think it's so important because, and I've touched upon it on previous episodes, and we'll probably talk about it again today, because I think it's an important topic. But the amount of people that adopt a method that they know from the outset they're going to hate, that demands more than they can give, and ultimately is the biggest catalyst for why they fail, is pretty much 99% of people that want to make a change to how they look. So I think your approach really sets people up for success, because it's not just, I want to get this result as quickly as possible, which then leads to very unsustainable approaches. It's, let's understand why you want that result, so that we can keep that at the forefront, so that you've always got this reason to keep going. And then you couple that with, like you said, optimizing, finding the best way to go about it. And then it's just about you versus you, 1% better each day, rather than that dramatic overhaul. And it's something I work with all my clients on, is you shouldn't take what you're doing today and try and drastically change it beyond recognition for like by tomorrow, because if you do that, you may only stick to it for a couple of weeks and you may see some really quick results doing it, but if you know in 3 or 4 weeks time you're going to be back to where you are today, it's not worth it. Whereas recognizing your areas of improvement and then taking the time to try and just tackle one element at a time, gradually, day by day, week by week, what ends up happening is people end up in a completely different situation to where they are today, where they're practically unrecognizable to themselves and to people around them, but the journey has taken a reasonable amount of time and it's been so gradual they haven't recognized the change. It's only when you stop and look back and you go, fucking hell, I'm doing all these things that I've always wanted to that I never thought were possible. And the way that they've got there is a little bit at a time. And I'm a big believer that direction of travel is way more important than speed of travel, and that 1 mile an hour in the correct direction will always be far better than 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And I think your ethos, your approach really encapsulates that, which I think is fucking brilliant, to be honest with you.
Cheers.
So yeah, mate, I'm excited to see what happens. So how long have you been in the coaching game for? I know you said you're quite new, so what's the backstory and what's the future look like?
So I have been focusing on doing all my academic side of it before I officially launch. So I've got a bit of credibility for myself. Yeah. Rather than just, he's just a PT and now he's gone online. Well, I'm like, no, I've kind of I guess I've kind of done all the hard work of that. I was a PTI for 10 years in the Army. So for those who don't know, it's just basically just a level 2 PT. But I'm taking hundreds of people at a time every single day. So I think ready to when I do leave the military, it'll be transitioning to that remote online world, because I can help people from my previous experience. Yeah. So I'm new to the online world because I've not launched online. I've been building this up for the last 2 years. I could have launched. I could have had a lot of failures and learned from that as well. But I thought I'll wait for the right safe moment once I've got my academic backing as such. Once I've got that stupid bit of paper what'll be behind me to say that this guy knows what he's on about, which I probably don't know what I'm on about. But I wanted to make sure I had something first before it launched online. So now that's finished, my thing launches in January.
Mate, and I think that's fucking awesome. It's obviously really exciting for you. I launched my online coaching. It'll be 5 years ago in January, so it's very much the same thing. I left the corporate world at the end of November, had a couple of weeks for Christmas, and then like you get this big exciting buzz because you're like, actually from beginning of January, that's it. I'm doing what I feel like I want to do, and you can throw yourself into it. I think also the fact that you've taken the time to do the academic side of things, to get the qualifications and to put the time and effort into learning is really important as well. The reality is very few people will ask for your career what your qualifications are. You'll get the odd absolute cunt on social media that tries to trip you up and it's like, oh, what are your qualifications? And then you can be like, yeah, it's this, you twat. And I've had great pleasure in having interactions like that with people on TikTok in the past. But I think it's really important just for your own understanding, your own confidence, and in order to help you be a better coach, I think it's important to have the qualifications. There's too many people out there who built a fitness brand because they got their arse out all the time on Instagram, or they did a couple of bodybuilding shows and packed themselves full of gear and then position themselves as experts in the field of coaching, and they try to coach on a mindset level, a mental health level, a business level, and all these other levels, when really their only experience is adopting an eating disorder for 12 weeks to stand on stage so that somebody can say you look great. So I think it's really great that you haven't just like delved in sort of head first and be like, yeah, fuck it, the online space is a bit of a free-for-all, I'm just going to go for it and learn on the job. You've taken the time to actually make sure by the time you launch you're the best version of you from a skills perspective as physically possible. And I think that the industry needs more people like that, because like I said, it's too easy for people to lose a bit of weight and sell a product and claim to be a professional, or to do a bodybuilding show, or just get picked up by My Protein because they're constantly posting their ass, and suddenly people assume because they've got a massive following that they're an expert, when in reality they probably know very little and quite often lack a great deal of empathy, because there's not that baseline understanding of some of the challenges. It's very easy if you love the fitness industry. It's very easy if you love training, if you love being really strict with your diet. It's very easy to assume that everyone will be the same. But when you do the qualifications and you focus on the stuff that you have in terms of learning more about psychology and stuff, you actually start to realize that it's a very small percentile of people that fucking love to get up and go to the gym and master their diet. Most people just want to live the happiest life they can for as long as possible. And you being the best at fucking CrossFit and having the greatest diet doesn't make you a great coach for the mum of 3 that's like pulling her hair out because her kids are being little twats and she's not allowed to beat them. And
people say, sorry, so people say about like that what you were going on there about, get up in the morning and, for example, get an ice bath and make your blended smoothie and then train for fucking 74 hours and then just hit your day right. And you're like, people, you see a load of those videos from people who are doing that and that works for them, but as you said, it doesn't work for everyone else. You've got the mums of 3, but then you've also got the people like us, just normal people who are like, it's a bit cold outside this morning. Oh, you've got no discipline. No, I'm just normal because it's fucking freezing outside. Yeah, I'd rather have a hot bath or a hot shower, mate, to start my day and feel even better.
100%. And I think that's a really great point, because the ice baths they've come back round again. They're popular again, and everybody's doing them. And it's like the amount of videos that I've been seeing of people from all different walks of life, not just coaches, who are like, day 63 of my everyday ice bath, and it's like, good for you, for you, like that's brilliant. But there's always this sort of elitism that comes across from people that do ice baths, like they're somehow better people because they can stomach the cold for 3 to 6 minutes. But I like to think that I'm not actually a fucking idiot, and because I know I hate being cold, why would I sit in an ice bath for 3 to 6 minutes? They might be benefiting, a fractional percentage improvement in recovery, but I'm not having 3 to 6 minutes every day that I fucking hate. I have a 10-15 minute hot shower and it's fucking lovely. So and I think the industry needs normal people that aren't trying to be elitist and trying to paint this perfect picture. I had a conversation today with another coach, Sophia Harris, because she put a post up where she sort of did like the expectation versus reality of the coaches that like, this is my daily routine. I got up and I meditated, I did this and did that, and she was like, got up and I hyper focused and procrastinated for 2 hours, and then like I can't remember the exact context of the post, and I was like, this is what social media should be. It shouldn't be a highlight reel. It should be literally just an unapologetic reel of everyone who's just bang average. Like I was saying to you before, I got a puppy 6 weeks ago, and since we got the puppy, I haven't even stepped foot in a gym. I'm a fucking coach. People look up to me, and over the last 3 weeks, I've spent more days drinking mojitos, having chats with people, than I have lifting weights. But for me, I'm happy to embrace that, and I think that's a side that shows I'm, I guess, human, and probably explains why I've got a shit physique. But it shows why I'm human. Whereas what I could be doing is just recycling training videos from ages ago, giving the impression that I've got a new job, a new dog, I'm running a new podcast, but I'm still getting my sessions in, and just lie to people like most people on social media do. So again, I'm excited to see what you achieve, because I think you're going to bring that level of like just no frills, no bullshit, like not trying to blow smoke up people's arse. It's like, this is who I am, and this is how you can achieve your goals without having to try and adhere to.
On that as well, so just going back to the ice baths and stuff, as you were saying, like, day 464 of not having a penis for 6 minutes because it's too cold, it's gone inside me. You're like, mate, fucking good for you. But I'm a bit weird because I like the science of why it works and why it doesn't. And there's some good stuff and some negative stuff, but it doesn't work for everyone, like you said, right? I've got a friend who every Sunday they go in the sea, they do a sea dip, but it's for men's mental health. It's just for men only. Men's mental health, and they get there, they get in the sea for like between 6 and 10 minutes, and then they get out. They do a bit of breath work beforehand and stuff. It's all about the rocks. Then they go for a coffee. Massive fan of that. Because they're not. It's like what anarchist vegans, you try and embrace everything on you. If you're a vegan, don't kill me. They try and embrace it, where these guys are just not. They're like, if you want to come and do it, you can come and do it. It's totally fine. But then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum where but that's everything, right? And it's just like, where's the middle? Oh, I'm the middle. I'm just like normal.
We're not lazy, sedentary people that make excuses, but at the same time, we're not going to jump on a bandwagon and put ourselves through shit that we know we're not going to like. And a big thing for me with my ethos is, whatever you do from an activity perspective, a diet perspective, whatever it is, at the forefront should be your own enjoyment. And if you're adhering to things because of a fractional percentage improvement that you're not really going to recognise and the negatives far outweigh that fractional percentage improvement. Like, why are you doing these things?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are you doing it? And that's same for me. I'll have a cold shower in the middle of the summer when I'm really fucking hot. Like at IFS, there were a few days that I went back to my room and had a cold shower because it was hot. Not a problem. Like, the only proper cold water plunge I've done, I was on honeymoon in the Maldives and I was hanging as fuck. And I'd been throwing up all morning because, stupidly, it was a bit like at IFS. It was a free bar and I was on the mojitos. But I got wind that the bar that we were drinking in, despite the fact there were others, was closing in an hour. So there was me and another couple that were also on honeymoon that we met. And myself and John decided to order our mojitos in threes because we thought the bar was closing, and it stayed open till like 2 a.m. So we had, for what we thought was like an hour of speed drinking, became like 3.5, 4 hours of just getting utterly shit-faced. And then, woke up the next morning, was not in a good way at all. Very, very sick. Must have been something I ate.
It must have been, yeah.
must have had a bad prawn. And we were supposed to be doing like a couples massage followed up by like a relaxing like bath and everything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move without being sick. So I've made it round from like our villa on the beach or to the other side of the island to like where they do the massages and stuff. And they're like, go and get yourself changed, get yourself ready. Like, by all means, have like a dip in the sauna or in the jacuzzi or in the cold plunges, sit in the sauna, just relax, and then we'll call you through when your massage is ready. And I genuinely thought it might sober me up to go in the cold plunge. And I just jumped in, ducked my head under, sat back up. I just shook my head and was like, what the fuck am I doing? Climbed out and went and sat in the sauna, and I nearly cried, like genuinely nearly cried. And that's the only time I've tried a proper cold plunge because I hated it. And the only thing that got me in there was the fact that I was probably still fucking steaming. And it was shit, so I wouldn't do it again. But social media is this weird dick swinging competition where everybody wants to be like, look how great I am, look how disciplined I am. And it's like, just be normal, just be a human.
I'd love to see like actual normal videos of people, as in like the one you were saying about like Sophie was doing and stuff, but as in like, you know, when you, this is me in my morning routine getting out, and it's like them video themselves getting out of bed, and you're like, fuck off, you set the camera up to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Show us you getting up with half an eye open because the other one's just like stuck to your phone.
Yeah, and I did a very tongue-in-cheek a day in the life of me recently. I say recently, it was a few months ago, and it was basically that. I just took the piss out of everybody doing it.
Yeah.
Like my day, thanks to being an online coach, it starts whenever I fucking want it to.
Yeah.
Like this morning, I was actually up relatively early this morning because I had a call at 8:45, so it was still dark when I woke up. But most mornings, I'm like, I'll get up, rock out of bed, roll downstairs, but somewhere between 9 and 10 a.m. I'm like, it's very uninspiring. Like, I'm not going to be one of these people, oh my god, he's such a great human being. Like, no, I spend most of my day chilling watching Sky Sports News, probably the same 5 stories on repeat for hours until the fucking Deal or No Deal comes on at 4 o'clock. Like, it's not an exciting thing to watch. Like, I don't have all my meals prepped. I don't eat fuckloads of whole foods. I'll have a slice of toast with some peanut butter on if I can be bothered, or I'll just have a really big coffee. Like, it's not an exciting world to watch a day in the life of me, but I think 90% of the people that post a day in the life of me or what I eat in a day, it's not even what they fucking do.
No, it's not.
Like, it's purely put on for the camera. Then people are like, oh my god, I'm so jealous of your lifestyle. And it's like,
I want to be just like you. I'm going to sign up to your program, which costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah. And it's like, well, not that I advocate stalking, but, you know, just if you've got the time, just like tip up outside their house one day during the week and just just watch through the window. I guarantee that's not what they're doing.
You don't really be watching me outside my window when I'm sat there with my pants like
rocking around in your boxes, just like Pornhub on the telly.
Yeah, it's on my phone, hidden smaller.
But yeah, I think it's a funny old industry. But what really excites me about the fitness space, and this came about from IFS. Like, I went to IFS as a solo traveller, first time ever going, literally shitting myself the entire time. Nearly didn't get on the plane. Got there and obviously met yourself. You were one of the first people that I met, like the friendliest face, added me straight to a WhatsApp group with fuckloads of people that have all been solo travellers. And I was like, I mean, that in a way overwhelmed me a bit as well. And I was a bit like, fuck, I don't know what to do with this now. But the people that I met, I suddenly realised that coaches like me that have got, you know, that kind of base what they do around their morals and their ethos and the way they want to help people rather than trying to look great on social media are actually not as rare as you think. And there's a lot of people out there who are really supportive and have great messages. And it kind of, it raised a few questions for me in a way, actually, because you kind of look at it and you go, actually, if there's so many people like me and so many people out there that are doing things from the right perspective and trying to help in the right way, why the fuck don't we see more of that content on social media?
Exactly.
which is probably an entire podcast episode purely on itself. But what I couldn't get my head around with IFS was the simple fact that actually it was the first time within the industry that I've met people that have a similar approach to me, that aren't these perfect human beings that constantly post what I eat in a day and their daily routine and try to, you know, belittle anyone that's not fucking going out to the garden to pick their fresh veg in the morning. But also it's just the fact that so many people are so supportive, and it's fucking like it blew me away, because I kind of thought I'd go there and I just like it should be me on my own.
The thing is, I noticed as well, because I've been to a handful of IFS things. I've done the same thing. I went to Portugal, my first ever one, solo travel on my own. It was so good because it was so small and so niche. It was a little bit smaller than Ibiza. And then the one in Brighton the year after, there's just so many people there. And then you're seeing all the creatures, the ones who are like, I'm better than you. And you're like, no, you're not, fuck off. Yeah. And then you go to Ibiza and there's all the people who want to go away together. And it's like, everyone's in the same mindset, everyone's the same. There's whether you've got one follower or a million followers, no one really cared about that. Yeah. You know, which was really, really great about IFS, and just meeting people for the first time, and people in the similar situation as you who went on their own and have never met anyone before. It's the first time doing this. Yeah, and it's mad, because obviously I followed James for years. I've wanted to go to IFS every year, and I haven't until this year haven't made it. And you always see, like, in all the little groups and stuff, like the Facebook groups and stuff, there's always tons of solo travelers going. Like it's kind of a given. Yeah. But even though I knew that, and I had the context of there's going to be loads of solo travelers there, I still went there thinking I'd be the only one. Yeah. I still went there thinking everybody's going to know who everybody is, and I'm just going to be this weird guy at the back, like just sat there. Well, you were.
Yeah. No, I wasn't at the back, mate. I was right at the front with my mojito. Yeah. I was the weird drunk guy that was listening to really in-depth chats by Dr. Mike and the likes, and just sat there drinking my mojito.
It was good though,
wasn't it? Best time in the world.
Mate, I fucking loved it. So good.
Absolutely loved it. It was that I would 100% say it's the best investment that I've made from a business, but more importantly from a personal perspective. Like the connections that I made at IFS, like even the knowledge that I learned, the talks were fucking brilliant, but it's all the time away from the talks that for me was even more invaluable. Pretty much every single person that's coming on the podcast, with the exception of the last episode that I did with Harry, because I've known him for a long time, I think pretty much every single person, and there is another episode which I won't say who it is yet because I don't want to ruin it, but there is an episode coming out with somebody who wasn't from IFS, but I think every single episode I've got booked in, it's like 20 episodes I've got booked in. That's quality. Have all come from people that I met at
That's what I love about IFS as well, because you make some connections, and like I'd love to be able to just go around the UK and just go for a coffee with someone from IFS who I've met and just have a chat and like record like my little mood chat or something like that, you know? Yeah. Just do that and just get like 20 minutes of a snippet of information about them and why they're a coach and what they do. And like, I'd love to do something like that. Just like, there's so many amazing people who've got their own little unique way of doing stuff, their own niche coaching ability, what they do, what they want to achieve. Yeah. It's mega. There's just,
it's honestly, I think, and again, for anyone listening that's not a coach and is sort of sat there going, what's the relevance to me of a international fitness summit? Well, the biggest lesson that I can take from it is invest in yourself. Do that thing that you're a little bit anxious about. Do that thing that you're a little bit like, I'd love to do it, but I'm not sure if I should. Yeah. Because it's probably the greatest example I've ever seen personally myself of when you take yourself out of your comfort zone and you force yourself to do something that you know you want to, but you've been anxious and practically putting off. The only thing that can come from it is good.
100%.
There. For me, there were no negatives. Actually, there was one negative from IFS. Actually, I got charged 50 quid to take my bag on the plane. On the flight out. It was part of the reason why I nearly didn't get on the flight. I took a fucking tiny little holdall, smaller than the bag that my missus took last time we flew with fucking EasyJet, and her bag was fine, but irrelevant. Got all the way through security. Nobody once said, "Excuse me, sir, have you paid for that bag?" Yeah, not a problem. Sailed all the way through, got to the gate, queued up, walked through, and this absolute job's worth cunt of a stewardess, and I say that with every ounce of joy because she tried to suck the joy out of everyone's life. She stopped me and she went, "Sorry, can you just check if that bag fits?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be fine." And I got it like 2/3 of the way in and was about to sort of squash it down because I'm pretty sure it would have fit if I pressed a bit harder, but my MacBook was in there, so I didn't want to go too crazy. And she went, "It's not going to fit. You're going to have to pay £50 for that bag." And I was like, 50 fucking quid for some t-shirts and a MacBook? Like, it was an absolute joke. And this is at like, I can't. My flight out was the first one out, so whatever time that is, like 4:45 in the morning or 4:45 in the morning. Like, and I hadn't slept the entire night because my flight out was so early. I had to be there for 3 a.m. And my old man was giving me a lift, so I was like, "You've got a choice. You can either pick me up at like 1 a.m. or you can drop me off at about midnight, and I'll just hang around." So he opted obviously for the sensible option and dropped me off at the airport at like midnight. So I'd been there the entire night, sat on the floor until 2 a.m. Started drinking at 2:30 because Wetherspoons don't serve food till 3, but they serve alcohol. So I started on the ciders at like 2:30 in the morning, and get to the gate, and she's like, "Yeah, if you want to take that bag, you've got to pay 50 quid. Well, of course I want to fucking take that bag. It's got my clothes in it, you twat. I'm not going to be like, yeah, just leave it here." So that was the only negative that came from IFS, and that's more of a reflection of EasyJet and their terrible policies that they seem to think that hand luggage.
I've got a way around that for you. From personal experience, I had a date, like a little backpack, and it was 7 kilos only.
Yeah.
I just literally took everything out and forced it into my pockets.
Yeah, well,
and then I put it all back in front of them after they put the tag on it. I was like, "Thank you."
In hindsight, what I should have done is gone, "Give me a minute," took my MacBook out and just taken out all my clothes and just put everything on. Yeah. The bag's empty. That would fit. But what annoys me about it is I thought when I had to pay like 50 quid, I thought they were going to take it off me and put it like in the hold
under the plane,
yeah, and be like, "Yeah, sorry, it's not going to fit." But no, I paid 50 quid to put it in the same overhead storage that I was going to put it in anyway. So I'm like, what have I been charged for?
Yeah,
I've put it exactly where I was going to put it, and I've paid 50 quid for the fucking luxury. But for anyone that has been to Ibiza or is thinking of going to Ibiza, when you travel back, very relaxed in the airport when you come back. Didn't check my bag once. In fact, when it went through the little bag scanner, nobody was even there to check it. Probably could have had about $1 million quid's worth of cocaine in there, and it would have just sailed through. So if you want to go on holiday to somewhere where you're likely to be able to bring back contraband and get away with it, I think Ibiza is the place. If
you work for EasyJet, he needs a discount code for his next flight, because that's a very traumatic experience.
It was. I genuinely, I was so anxious about going as it was. When that happened, I was like, I got through the gate, I paid my 50 quid, and I was just seething. And I very nearly just turned around and walked back because they let us onto the plane, which was actually getting us to within about 2 miles of where the plane was, and we had to queue again. Not sure why. And I was just literally just replaying it over and over and over in my head, like, that's just really pissed me off. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just go home. I'll just go back. I'll just get a train back home. And I very nearly didn't go. And I'm glad I did, because obviously I arrived at the hotel at IFS by about 9 in the morning, and I started drinking mojitos and carried on right the way through until I left, and it was fucking brilliant. But yeah, EasyJet, sort it out. Stop making that fucking, does your bag fit in this, smaller and smaller, because you haven't changed the size of your overhead fucking storage, have you? So it's irrelevant.
Do you know what I done for my flight out to Ibiza? My little brain was like, oh, this is a good adventure. So I looked on Skyscanner. It was like, I don't know, X amount of money for a flight direct there, but for £10 cheaper, I could fly to Madrid, and then from Madrid to Ibiza.
Nice.
And I was like, well, I've never been to Madrid. It's only £10 cheaper. I was like, that'd be fun. Worst thing ever, I was delayed. Everything. I was just like, what a waste.
Brilliant.
I should have just spent the extra tenner to get to Ibiza a little bit earlier. I was like delayed for about 2 hours. I was just, oh my god. I was like, oh, at least that journey's done. But on the way back, I had exactly the same. I was like, why have I done this?
Amazing. Was that the worst part of Ibiza, or was it worse when you stumbled back at like 4 in the morning without your shoes?
Oh, that was horrible. That was horrible. I lost
I feel like you need to tell me this story, because I still don't actually know what actually happened. I just remember that I was sat. Admittedly, I'd started drinking already, and it was like 8 in the morning. I had breakfast, waiting for the first talk to start on the Saturday, and you rocked in. I assumed you'd come from your room. I later found out that no, that was you arriving back
in,
and you were shoeless.
So, for a bit of context, every IFS I've done something stupid. So the first one, I woke up next to a lift, lost my phone.
Brilliant.
In Portugal, and then Brighton, I didn't drink, which was good. I
That was the most stupid thing, though, wasn't it? You went to IFS and didn't drink.
Yeah. And then this time round, I was like, right, cool, I'm going to let my hair down. First night out, me and one of the lads who I met in Portugal, we were just drinking in the hotel, getting absolutely wasted. And he was like, should we just go on an adventure out and see what's out? And we did. We went out. I was wearing like a Sydney football top, and just like random football tops you collect over the years.
Yeah.
And we tried getting into one of the super clubs after that, just drinking from bar to bar. And they were like, oh, we can't let you in a football shirt. And I was like, I'm not going to argue with you. Not a problem. I'll walk back. And then we ended up drinking in another bar. And then, lo and behold, it was like we were walking back. and then I lost them because I was minging. And then I walked into a hotel, thinking it was my hotel.
Brilliant.
Sat there, and I was like, this is not mine. It was in the lobby. Fell asleep. Woke up, and when I woke up, I had one shoe on my foot. I was like, where's this other shoe? I just got a flashback of throwing it over a wall. No idea why.
So did you have the shoe when you went into the hotel? Or
I don't remember.
Brilliant.
But I was like, I woke up in this random lobby, and I was like, oh, best walk back. And I walked out of the hotel, turned left, and as I turned left and started walking, I seen two others from IFS, and they were out for a morning run. Oh, day in the life of me! Look at them going for a run. They were running, and they were proper sound. I won't say who they were, but I bumped into them, and they were like, "Hey, you're right," and I was like, "Hey," still absolutely minging still. I was like, "Oh god." They've gone that way, like they've gone off like from right to left. I was like, they must have run from the hotel. So I've walked where they were going. They've been walking in a circle for like 3 hours. They went the complete opposite way. And then I remember hitting the beach, and I was like, right, if I follow the beach all the way back, I'll get back to the hotel.
Yep.
Literally walking back with one shoe for about an hour, and I was like, why am I walking with one shoe on? So I took the other shoe off and just walked back barefoot. The glass on my foot, my feet were cut. It's devastating. Got back to the hotel, walked in there, and as soon as I walked in, I seen like 3 or 4 people, and they're like, you just got back in? And I was like, don't ask. So I got, where's your shoes? I was like, don't ask. But I kept that one shoe for the rest of the weekend, hoping that I'd find the other one somewhere.
Yeah.
And I never did.
Did you find it?
No, it was like £180 like Nike Jordan or something like that. I was like, fuck's sake.
I think what you should do, I think you should get one of those like glass box frames for that shoe.
Well, I left in the hotel.
Oh, well, don't do that then. That's going to be very pricey to go back and get. But
But yeah, that was a story, and I was just like, great. And I was like, the first night, so the second, like day 2, everyone was just like, oh, you look rough. I was like, not stopped yet, because I just literally got in, carried on drinking, because I had a cheeky 2-hour power nap on a floor of a hotel lobby. So,
mate, sometimes that's all you need. But that was the beauty of IFS, is the fact that it was a free bar.
Yeah.
It was all inclusive. So it was like I arrived on the Thursday, didn't know a single person, felt very out of my comfort zone. The only thing I really knew is that I was abroad, it was hot, and therefore I needed a mojito.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I agree.
And admittedly, I went straight to mojitos on the basis that I said to the nice Spanish waiter that was like, "Can I get you anything?" He obviously didn't say it like that. He said it in a Spanish accent, but through fear of being accused of sounding Mexican or racist, I won't do the Spanish accent. But he said, "Can I get you anything?" And I said, "I love a cider." And I, to this day, could not tell you what he repeated back to me, but it wasn't the word cider. And I thought, I don't think he knows what that is. So I went, sorry, a mojito. And then it started. 9:30 on the Thursday. Started then. And yeah, I think the first non-alcoholic drink I ordered at IFS was the Monday morning whilst waiting for my airport pickup. and it dawned on me, I was like, I haven't ordered a soft drink in 4 days. Like,
I remember just ordering a beer at like 8 in the morning. And I've got like this half pint of beer, and I've walked into to breakfast with this half pint of beer.
Yeah.
And everyone just like stopped and looked at me, and I was just like, I'm on holiday. I don't care. I don't care.
I remember seeing you walk in with that
Yeah.
beer. I remember seeing that and just thinking, yeah, fair play. I couldn't really judge because most mornings I started at the sports bar before breakfast.
Yeah.
So it would be unfair of me to be like, oh, fucking animal, because I already had a mojito. But yeah, it was a lot of drinking, but weirdly I didn't ever feel like I got shit-faced. I didn't have a single hangover for the entire 4 days, and that's unusual for me. Normally if I get drunk, the hangover is like, I'm 36 now, so the hangover lasts like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no.
It like really fucking wipes me out. So I was a bit anxious on day 1 when I thought I was being sensible, heading back to my room at like midnight and recognising the fact that I'd been awake since, like, I hadn't gone to sleep since the Tuesday so like 2 days before, and I just got back to my room and scanned my little wristband to get in my room, and one of the guys that was like doing all the filming, LG, walked past and said, "Hey mate, how you doing?" And I was like, yeah, good, thank you mate, yeah, you? And he's like, just heading to the bar. Without skipping a beat, I was like, "I'll come." Yeah. And I stayed drinking till 4 in the morning. I was like, I literally did like 26 hours of straight drinking that first day, and I was like, this is,
it's so good, wasn't it, though?
Mate, it's fucking incredible. Like, and the thing is I didn't know what to expect, and I think even if the actual IFS itself, even if the talks were shit, I don't think anything could have like topped the weekend that I had. Just the people that you meet, the chats that you have. Like this whole podcast came about. I've probably referenced it on every episode so far, but this podcast came about because I spent 4 days drinking mojitos with Jamie and Gareth, taking the piss out of the fact that Jamie got confused for David Goggins, and just we just said, like, by the end of it, we're like, this should be a podcast. Like, the chats that we've had have been so ridiculous. This should be a podcast. And being truly ADHD, it's all I thought about for about 3 months after I got back, and now we're doing it. But I just wanted an excuse to day drink again, really.
Yeah, no, it works. It's a good excuse,
in the name of work, and obviously all of the rum and everything.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, cheers. All the rum's obviously tax expensable because it's for work, so it's great.
I like that a lot.
But we prefer free rum. So again, I referenced my previous comment. If there's anyone watching from Lands or Old J or Kraken or anybody that provides rum, if you want to supply us with rum for the podcast, fucking do. So what's next? Well, we've chatted obviously quite exclusively about IFS and the joys of it. I don't know if people are probably be getting a bit bored and a bit left out of the fact that they weren't there. But what's next for you? What's your vision? Where do you want to get to?
So, short term, January, I'm launching a program which is it's kind of like group based, but it's everyone able to perform themselves. It'll be over 8 weeks, and then once that's launched, and from the back of that, the data I'll collect from that, see what goes forward. Midterm, I want to be able to have I don't want to say community because I'm not about that. A big community, but I want to have like a collective, but it's more of just a collective of people who are more inspired by improving their mindset, right? Not just fitness related, but just whatever they want to do, just pushing their comfort zone. And then long term, I would love to be able to do something in the realms of mental health through exercise. Yeah. So my long term vision is to use exercise as an intervention for people with poor mental health or poor well-being. Yeah. For that, I don't. Speaking through experience, I'm sure everyone, people who are listening to this now, in the future, wherever, will all experience poor mental health of some sort. Yep. And however they got over that, that's down to them. The way I got over it was through a change of mindset and exercise, and I think it's a really, really big thing which needs to be looked into more. So that's my short, medium, and long term things for the vision for what the Moo coach is going to be. Love that, and I think it's really important because I said to my clients all the time, I say it on social media, I think physical and mental health are so intrinsically linked in that if you take the time and the effort to focus on one, it will drag the other element along with it in exactly the same way that if one starts to crumble, the other is often not too far behind. And I think it's really important, not necessarily to force everybody into that same boat of saying, oh yeah, if you're struggling with your mental health, you must exercise. But actually, if you can just do something that improves your overall physical health, whether that's just eating slightly better, whether it's just getting out for a walk or just doing something that gets you slightly more active, that can be such a catalyst for helping improve your mental health. And again, for myself personally, I've spoken about it. For anyone that's listened to my previous podcast, I've spoken extensively about my battles with mental health. The fact that I've had multiple attempted suicides that have thankfully obviously not worked. What a great thing to be shit at, by the way. Yeah, no, that's so good. So it's the only thing I would actively encourage people to be shit at. Such a positive negative, right?
yeah, definitely. But for me, it's like fitness hasn't necessarily always been the thing that's saved me from that perspective, because there have been headspaces where I've been in where it's just like, do you know what, actually that's the last thing I need is to be in like a gym environment. But I know for a fact that when I first suffered with my mental health, that came about because I used to play football and I'd been going through a lot of stuff, like personally some really fucking horrendous stuff. And I'm a goalkeeper and I used to play football every week, Saturday and Sunday, and those 2 90-minute matches at a weekend were 180 minutes of me in a field, mostly on my own, talking probably out loud. I mean, I imagine my defenders probably thought I was a fucking psycho because I was probably having full-blown conversations, but it was my way of rationalising, processing, decompressing what was going on. And I'd come off at the end of a game feeling great because my primary focus was the match. It was making saves, it was doing the right thing, but subconsciously I could process things without that being my primary focus, so it didn't feel overwhelming. And then I tore my ACL, and that was literally overnight. It was gone. Like I played a game on the Saturday, tore my ACL right at the start of the game. One of the lads on my team stood over me and called me a cunt and said there was nothing wrong with me. So I played on. We won 10-0. I made some ridiculous saves, kept a clean sheet, got back to my car, drove 40 minutes home, got out of the car when I got home, was like, I can't really stand. Iced the knee, thought, it's just a twist, it's nothing serious, not a problem. Woke up the next morning, got out of bed, went to stand and just collapsed straight to the floor and was like, that's unusual. I've never had issues with holding my own weight up. So I rang my old man, I was like, oh, any chance you can just run me down to A&E? I think I fucked my knee. And yeah, had an x-ray done, and the doctor was like, good news, there's no break to your knee. I was like, that is great news, that's really good. He's like, bad news? I was like, oh, don't. He's like, there's a big cloud around your knee on the x-ray, which means you've torn a ligament, a tendon of some sort, but you need an MRI to determine it. And then I spent 12 weeks fully immobilised on crutches, and that was literally my mental health went from having this great outlet, at least 2 to 3 times per week I was playing football, amazing outlet, always left me feeling good. Even if we lost, always felt good, got that release of endorphins. I've done something, it's active, it's fresh air, it's around good people, there's banter. And then suddenly it's like you're housebound, you can't do anything, you can't drive, you can't work, you're just left alone to your thoughts. And I fucking like deep dived, and for me that was, I didn't really realise it at the time. It was only as I sort of went through like my late 20s into my early 30s where I kind of became a bit more like self-aware, that you start to realise that actually for me, sport of some kind, social interactions of some kind, that's my outlet. If my mental health isn't good, I need good people around me. I need to get myself out. I need distractions. I need things that make me feel good. And apparently, according to the way that my brain works, they always say goalkeepers are a rare breed, but apparently for me, having people absolutely twat a little round thing in my general direction is the cure for many ills. But I think it's so important with where you want to where you see your vision going to bring those things together, because there are not enough coaches, and again, it might be a qualification thing, it might be an understanding thing, but there's not enough coaches that recognise the positive impact of approaching the entire spectrum. And it's so important. And yes, everybody's a little bit different, but one thing we can always say, it doesn't matter who you are, mental health and poor mental health is very much like things like cancer and what have you. It doesn't discriminate. Nobody is immune to it. It can affect you at any time. And there are so many people who have gone through their entire life never having an issue, never having to worry about their mental health, and then there is something that happens at some point and you have to deal with it. And it can affect absolutely everybody. Nobody's immune to it. And I think it's so important to have good people with a good understanding that can help just help people get into a better headspace, whether that's through movement, whether it's through improving diet, whether it's just having a good support network. I think it's invaluable, and there's not enough people doing it. There's too many people out there that want to look good and hope that they can make money because other people want to look like them, rather than actually having any amount of depth to their persona in terms of wanting to physically help people improve their lives and teach them skills that not only can perhaps address a difficult period they're in now, but teach them the kind of things that are going to help them to navigate either out of difficult periods in the future, or even be able to navigate away from them so they don't end up in those same situations. So I think, if I can, from my perspective, mate, hats off to what you're doing. I think it's incredible. I help people with their mental health, but I'm acutely aware that I'm not qualified in that side of things. So for me, it's more of a support aspect, more of a sharing my experiences and things that I can empathise with. But I think what you're doing is incredible.
My issue with the whole mental health spectrum as such is, I had a conversation. I've got a friend who's a psychiatrist, and I asked her about this as well. And I've asked maybe 2 or 3 people who are in the medical profession, and every time I see someone, I'll ask them as well to see what their perspective of it is. But if you look at like on a linear path, you've got mental health first aid. That's the first qualification someone can get in order to recognise and signpost people who've got issues with their mental health. And then all the way down the other end of the line is a psychiatrist who can diagnose and treat mental health issues through pharmaceutical intervention, so tablets, etc. Right? What's in the middle? There's absolutely nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
Close to the end of the spectrum, we've got psychologists, clinical psychologists, for example, or even neuropsychologists who can spot things as well. who can add certain interventions in, but it's a psychiatrist that will treat through like a pharmaceutical intervention. There's nothing in the middle which us as coaches or people who are in the industry who deal with mental health, there's nothing there like a course or a qualification or anything that can help with that. Now, I would like to be able to do something where there's something, whether it's, I'll step back and say, have you heard of the mental health and exercise coaching course?
I actually haven't.
So there's a guy called Dan Hancock, who he calls himself the mental health PT. Nice dude. Him and his mate Ben Lewis, they have this course what people can do, and it's just like another module that should get added onto a PT qual, and it's effectively just like almost like listening therapy to your client to improve their mental health. That's the only thing out there that I've found which is an accredited mental health course.
Yeah.
But it's not something that can be used to help treat or diagnose, which I totally agree with, because that's something for in the future. But there's nothing in the middle what can help us as coaches help our clients with poor mental health or poor well-being or ill health in general from the mental perspective. And I would love to be able to be part of something what could develop or integrate something in that can help us as coaches help our clients in that respect.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, I've not really mentioned this a lot. Only a small number of people in my life know about this, but I hit rock bottom at one point, and the only thing that pulled me away from rock bottom was my dog. And as cliche as that sounds, I looked at my dog and was like, well, if I do this, who's going to feed you? And I felt, well, that's a stupid idea to do.
Yeah.
So I had something to pull me away. But there's a lot of people who don't have anything like that can pull them out from it. And I've got friends, and I'm sure you know people as well, but from my background, I've got friends who've ended their lives through poor mental health, and I've got friends who've come close to it. And there was two occasions where two friends on two different occasions reached out to me and was like, I've gone to people, no one can help me. Can you help me? And that was really, really powerful for me. It gave me a sense of purpose, but at the same time I was like, fuck me, I can't really do anything. I'm just a bloke who enjoys learning about how to improve people's mental health. So I think there should be something in the middle there that as I said, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but what we can use as coaches to help our clients, or even help other coaches who've got poor mental health as well.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because, again, when you look at the mental health side of things within the NHS as a service, it's massively understaffed. It's struggling. It's got more pressure on it, more requests for access to that service than probably ever before.
Yeah,
and it's not able to service the people that are in need of it. So I think there's that big gap in terms of people are in a position where more people are becoming aware that perhaps they are struggling, and which is great because that was the first challenge, is that there was so much stigma around mental health that people didn't talk about it. People were in denial about struggling with their mental health because they were too ashamed to put their hand up and say, do you know what, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And we've through effective conversations and strong campaigns and stuff that's around social media and what have you, that has started to improve, and people are more willing to put their hand up and say, do you know what, I'm not doing too good, I'm struggling. But the services are now a little bit too overrun, and that they can't help those people. So I think there is a gap at the moment, and I think it's a gap that can and absolutely should be filled by effective coaching, in terms of, yes, we're not here to diagnose, we're not here to prescribe, we're not here to treat mental health issues, but we are here, we can be here to provide support, we can be here to provide structure, to provide accountability, and to help provide routines that people can buy into that give them purpose. And whilst we may not be able to actually provide counselling services, whilst we may not be able to provide medical intervention for certain things, if we can just be an ear for somebody to turn to, if we can just provide somebody with structure to their daily routine that gives them a little bit more purpose, that helps them do something that's going to improve on things, then that's massive. I mean, one of my clients I worked with over the last year or so, she always really struggled with her mental health, and at one point we just were focused on getting her out of the house 5 to 10 minutes, even once a week.
Yeah.
But fast forward to the end of the year, we stopped working with each other because she actually got to a point where she wanted to work with somebody in person, and she was fairly local, but obviously I don't do any in person work. So she started working with a coach who had their own studio. But if we hadn't have done the groundwork all through the year of getting her used to just stepping outside, going outside of her front door for 5 minutes and doing that very short form exposure and just creating new routines, she never would have got to a point where she was like, do you know what, I actually want to take myself to the next part of my journey. I want to go and train. She wasn't ready to go to a gym, so for me, I couldn't help her. But we gave her the tools to feel comfortable to reach out to a PT that's got their own private studio. And then I caught up with her a couple of months later and she's like, I'm still going. I'm going 3 times a week. Like, I'm managing my food. Like, she was making really great progress.
Yeah.
And like, it was like speaking to 2 different people from when we first met to...
How good did that make you feel?
Mate, it made me feel incredible. And like, loads of people find it really weird when I say things like that because, you know, theoretically speaking, I lost a client to another coach.
Yeah.
And I've had people go, well, if you just did in-person sessions, you could have kept that client. I'm like, no, but that's not the point. Like, my business works the way my business works, and I won't change it to suit everybody, because if you're forever changing what you do to match individual people, you'll never succeed. But I worked with somebody who was at point A that wanted to get to point B.
Yeah.
And I took her all the way to the point where she could get to point B. If she then needs to work with an in-person PT at that point, I'm like, that's brilliant. That's exactly what we set out to achieve, to get her to a point where she felt comfortable to go to the gym.
So that's what I was going to ask then. As a coach, what do you want? Do you want to keep training someone for the rest of their entire life? It doesn't work like that. You get someone to a point where they can just leave on their own. Yeah. And if they need to come back for advice and help, they can do, right?
Yeah, I view myself, and again, it's not an analogy that I came up with myself. I think the first person I heard use it was probably James Smith, to be fair. But I very much view myself in the same bracket as like a driving instructor. My job isn't to turn people from never really thinking about their health and their fitness into the Lewis Hamilton of the fitness world. My job is to get them safe enough that if I leave them on their own, they're not going to mount the curb and kill a child, metaphorically. Like, that's I say that to every single person on a consultation call. Yeah. My goal is not to work with you forever. It's to get you to a point where you can tell me to fuck off, and we both are confident that that's not going to be the catalyst for you to go backwards.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong with the fitness industry in general, is the fact that every diet, every product, every place like Slimming World are not geared up to help achieve success. They're geared up to help achieve financial dependence. They're geared up to give somebody a snippet that works for a short period of time so that they think they're fixed and they can quit, and then when it all falls to shit, they think back and they go, what worked last time? Oh, it was Slimming World, I'll go back there. And they create a financial dependency from individuals because they give them a very short-term approach to a long-term problem. My approach is different. Yeah, it might be slightly more expensive in the forefront, but if you have to work with me for 4 months or 6 months or even 12 months, if you never have to spend a penny again for the rest of your life to get in better shape, it was worth every fucking penny of your investment. And that's the promise I always make to people, is you work with me, I guarantee by the time you finish, you won't need to spend a penny again. And if you do, well, it's on you.
Yeah, you're not listening.
Yeah, I take no responsibility for that. But yeah, I think, going back to your original point, I think there is that big gap that coaches should be able to fill. And I think the PT qualification, I again touched upon this in previous episodes, the PT qualification prioritising information that is quite often outdated and has been disproven, when in reality it should be looking at what society is like and how that's evolved and what makes up overall health, overall fitness, whether that's mental, physical, and all of that should be part of what you get taught as a coach. And I'm not saying it's a coach's responsibility to be a counsellor to somebody, but we should be able to empathise at the least. We should be able to support. We should be able to signpost people to other services should we feel that it's getting to a point that's beyond our capabilities. But at the very least, we should be able to put an action plan in place that fits that individual, that helps to tackle the problem that they're experiencing. Even if it's not dealing with the root cause, if it's giving them purpose and direction, we should be able to be taught that. But unfortunately, a level 3 PT qualification teaches you things like somatotypes that was disproven in 1940, rather than helping you understand that actually, if somebody's struggling with mental health, being a support network for them and giving them some structure that helps them do one thing a day that makes them feel good is way more powerful than knowing, the perfect mechanics of a deadlift.
So I just want to touch on the gap I was on about as well. Before someone comes at me with an axe, like, I teach CBT, that's something I understand. You got to have little things like that, which is great.
Yeah,
like you mentioned, counsellors, that's a good intervention. CBT, CBD as well. Different things that can be helped. There's a lot of them there, but I'm specifically talking about as a coach who's.
And I think those services are fucking brilliant. However, from my own personal experience, when I've self-referred or been referred into those services, when you're at a potential breaking point, you're potentially at a crisis point.
Yeah.
The only way you will be fast-tracked in the service is if you have an attempt at suicide.
Which is fucking, I think is...
Whereas if you self-refer and you call in and you go, I'm really struggling with my mental health, I'm battling suicidal thoughts, I don't feel safe. Yes, there are some immediate services. There's the Shout text service, which, again, with being completely open and honest, I used that a couple of months ago. I was not in a great place. Used that a couple of months ago, and even that service was overrun. So I got holding messages saying, we'll be in touch, and in the end, after probably about 3 or 4 hours, I was feeling much better. So I sent. I replied to the message that said, don't worry about it, because I hadn't had a response. There's obviously Samaritans and all these great services, but the reason why I think there's a place for coaches to step up, and that the coaching industry and the fitness industry needs to do more, is the simple fact that, as I said before, these services that provide more detailed intervention from qualified professionals are massively understaffed and oversubscribed. And if that's your only route, if you're really struggling with your mental health, and maybe you're not at crisis point, but maybe every day is a struggle, maybe every day you wake up and you think, not this again, and you're not at a point where you want to kill yourself, you recognize that there is plenty of positives about, but you still hate every waking minute. If you try and refer into a service and they go, we'll speak to you in 6 months, it's not going to leave you feeling great. Whereas if you are working with a coach who is able to say, look, I may not be the most qualified person to help here, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a plan in place that's going to get you to do one thing a day.
Yeah.
And that one thing could be putting your favourite album on and drinking a cup of coffee and just taking 30 minutes to yourself. But that could be the difference between that day feeling like the worst day ever and compounding and taking that person one step closer to crisis.
Yeah.
And going, actually, today wasn't too bad.
Do you know what I'm a big fan of? And this is probably like mad for saying it as well. Watching a YouTube video taking a shit. That's my little 10 minutes on my own. Boom, done that. Yeah. Something as small as that people can do. Going back to like the busy mums and stuff. Oh, I don't have 30 minutes to have a coffee. I've got fucking 6 screaming kids. You're like, well, in the evening, dedicate some time to yourself in the evening when the kids receive. Or, I know it's easier said than done, but there's little things that coaches could learn. The reason I say that as well, because we're talking about like poor mental health from like suicide and depression, for example, but then it spans on the other side as well, like anxiety, body dysmorphia, what even just afraid to go out of the house because it's raining, there's a whole spectrum. But there's so much that coaches, even myself as well, who's I'm a big advocate of helping people with poor mental health, that we could learn to benefit other people, whether it's a client coming to speak to you one-to-one, or even just creating a bit of content about raising awareness or something. I think we should do more.
100%. And again, I raised this point because, again, going back to IFS, there was an incredibly good mental health panel run by Dr. Mike, who will be appearing on the podcast at some point.
Good.
So I'm sure we'll cover that. But one of the questions I raised is, with social media, I think there is a duty of care for us coaches to speak openly about our own experiences about all forms of health, mental and physical. The problem that we've got is, because social media has become a little bit of a popularity contest, it's become about likes and clicks and engagement. We've seen the ugly side of it, where people share misinformation because they know it's good for engagement. The likes of Eddie Abu and Gary Brecker. And
I was like, oh, okay, that's dropped. I was waiting how long.
But there's enough cunts out there that will jump on a trend because it's good for engagement. The other thing that we've seen is a lot of people trying to normalise mental health for clicks and likes. The people who are taking a video of themselves crying. It's okay not to be okay. Now, maybe it's a genuine video. And yes, we should be having these conversations. So I'm not completely dismissing it and saying there is no place for that content. My struggle is, as someone who's battled with their own mental health, when I've been in that position where I'm like having a breakdown, I've never once thought to myself, this would make a great bit of content.
Yeah, I know, right? What goes through your head?
I never thought that. And I think this is the problem is I raised it at IFS, I would love to share more about my own experiences, and I find podcasts and this kind of environment much easier to talk openly about it. I don't talk about it much in my actual content because I'm always worried that it comes across like disingenuous and it comes across attention seeking.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really interested to know, like what your take on this in terms of actually we should as content creators be creating content that obviously educates, inspires, informs, entertains, but we should also be creating content that gives people empowerment.
Yep.
That helps people to seek help. What's your take on, how would you go about approaching that, given that it's almost gone sort of too far the opposite way, where people are jumping on a trend and being like, oh my God, look how sad I am. Mental health matters. Like, how would you tackle it to be able to put content out there that helps people, offers comfort, offers solution, helps people to approach a conversation that's perhaps difficult without it coming across as though you're jumping on a trend?
So, to start with, you're always going to get a fucking knobhead who's going to make a bit of content just for the clicks.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that type of knobhead straight away. If you want to engage with people and to help them, take for example, men don't cry. Oh, men are strong. Fuck off. Men, we have emotions too, right? And it's fine to be emotional. If you would ask me 5 years ago, I'd have been like, nah, not me, mate. But since speaking to a therapist and talking openly about stuff, I actually realise it's normal to have emotions, and it's okay to feel upset, and it's okay to have down days, just as it's okay to feel good and have good days,
And this is the funny thing with emotions, particularly negative emotions, is we tend to, as human beings, even if you don't have traits like ADHD where you typically hyperfocus, we do make a big fucking song and dance of our negative emotions. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a British thing or if it's just a human trait in general. Yeah. But if you have a day where you're feeling shit, you're more likely to tell everybody, I feel really shit today. And that's all you focus on. Yet when you're happy, you don't run around telling I'm so happy today. You just enjoy it for what it is. You just go, I feel good today. And that's kind of it. And you just enjoy the feeling. But we don't apply that same logic to the more negative emotions. We overanalyze it rather than recognizing that it's a valid emotion like any other, and it will pass just as much as the positive emotions come and go. So do the negatives.
Go back to when you got injured and your ACL, you ruptured your ACL laying on the ground, and your defenders come over and he's on, get up. That's like a proper man response, right? As I say men.
Well, he didn't say get up. He said, there's nothing wrong with you, you fucking pussy.
There we go. So a light-hearted way of saying get up.
Yeah. So, if you paraphrase it.
Yeah.
Do you need a hand up, mate?
Are you okay? So it's a bloke response, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to like tell all blokes at brushes or whatever, but it is just, get at your pussy. It's fucking crack on with the game, right?
Yeah.
That is like, I think you can stand back to the old, let's say, British stiff upper lip,
Yeah.
It's just like, get up and crack on with it. Now, if the table had been turned and it was, let's say, a child who's been injured, straight away everyone's like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah. At what point from becoming a child to a man does that stop? And why does it stop?
Yeah. 13. No,
yeah. Well, that's when the hangovers kick in for more than a day. No, but what I mean is, it's like, it's for when does it? How can I say this without sounding like a dickhead? At what point is it okay for a man to say I'm emotional, and another man to say, oh, what's your problem? Let it out, in the eyes of society. And I know it's all well and good. People saying, oh, you can do, it's great. Everyone, it feels great, but the majority of people out there still don't talk about emotions openly. Yeah,
and I think the stats are crazy in terms of men around the age of, it's like 25 to 45 are statistically most likely to take their life. The biggest killer of men in their 30s is suicide. It's ridiculous. But again, even not just, obviously we're two blokes, so again it's easy for us to hone in on that, but again, if you extrapolate that and you look at from a women's perspective, I did a post recently because, again, our good friend Eddie Abu, the classic shit cunt talker that he is, tried to claim that menopause wasn't real. But if you look at the suicide rates in women, and this is somebody who claims he used to be a mental health nurse, by the way.
Yeah.
You can't find him on the NHS register, past or present. But if
Might
we
find him on another register.
yeah,
but...
probably. It's a register that I created of utter shit cunts you shouldn't listen to.
That's the one.
But him claiming menopause isn't actually real and that you can just only eat meat and eggs and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
That, for someone who allegedly used to work in the mental health field, is ridiculous because, again, we know men are more likely to commit suicide from their 30s onwards through middle age. But also, if you look at from a woman's perspective, the time period where suicide rates in women accelerate massively is late 40s to early 60s, which is exactly when women go through the menopause. So you sit there and you go, there's conversations that need to be had in terms of, yes, I think it's really important to raise that awareness in terms of helping men feel more comfortable with reaching out for help and having conversations. Things like you obviously referenced earlier in terms of the sea dip followed by a coffee, and it's just an opportunity to get out. For me, it was football. It was, I didn't need to explicitly say to my teammates, I'm in a shit place. It was just by being in the changing room, I felt much better. I felt like things were easier. And sometimes it's about putting things in place where you're not drawing attention to the fact that you're struggling. You're just putting yourself into situations where it helps you feel better. And again, it could be a collective thing, like the sea dip followed by a coffee for men that are struggling, where the forum is there if you want to talk about it, but equally if you don't want to talk about it and you just want to chat about the football or how cold the fucking sea was or what flavour syrup you like in your coffee, like that's fine too.
Use your changing, sorry, jump in, but your changing room analogy, for example, there's like, full well that there's going to be more than you in that room who are glad to be there, surrounded by people in a social setting, because it's going to make your situation feel much better. Yeah. Now, the thing with the sea dip and the coffee, the majority of those men have gone through something and they recognise, but no one talks about it because they know they're in a place where they feel better as well. Yeah. So there's probably loads of other things out there which men don't realise that go into that is going to make them feel better because other people in the same situation. Maybe an old man going to the pub with the other old men because they're going there because they feel safe in an environment which is good for them.
Yeah, for example, I saw a thing on the news recently. It was like a group of blokes, and they're in like their 70s and 80s, and they'd been going to the same pub, same night every week since they were in their 20s, every week without fail. And I'm like, what a fucking great example! Like, again, yes, it's not a mental health specific thing, but they do that every week because it makes them feel good. Yeah, and I think that
creature comforts, right?
100%. And I think this is why it's really important. We know the ages for men and for women where you are statistically more likely to take your own life if you're struggling. And I think conversations need to be had. For men, it needs to be trying to break this stigma of you can't show emotion. And there's still that there now. You hear it in sports arenas all the time when somebody gets injured. Cricket is a great example. You take a ball in the elbow or on the hand or whatever. It's like, don't let your oppo know that you're hurt. Don't let the bowler know that hurt you. And it's like, well, it's all right to say that it did. Like, you can still, like, if you're okay to carry on, that should be enough of a warning to the bowler that you're fine, that you're carrying on. You shouldn't have to be like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, but
I'm hanging off, man.
Yeah, but same in football. I had it so many times as a goalkeeper, and I'm not the tallest lad, I'm not the biggest lad, and I got clattered fucking countless times because big strikers think, oh, lay one on the keeper and stuff. And my teammates would be like, mate, just don't let them know you're hurt. I broke a finger once and I played on for 15 minutes because there wasn't enough of a break in play to make a substitution. Yeah. And my own defenders were screaming at me because I kept giving away corners because I was parrying saves I should have been catching.
Yeah, and you couldn't catch it
and I wasn't in an opportunity to say, by the way, I'm fucking injured. And that was my thought process. I can't say, because if I say that I'm injured, they'll just start shooting from fucking anywhere. Yeah. And I think it's that we need to like encourage these forums where perhaps the focus isn't talking about what you're struggling with in your mental health, but the forum is getting people together to help feel better. And that should be the same for men, so that men feel more comfortable talking. But again, also for women of a certain age going through significant changes like menopause, again, so many women feel alone and feel isolated because there's not enough information out there. There's not enough support out there to help them. And that's probably why suicide rates go through the roof. And again, I think there should be more social groups available for people in certain age demographics and certain gender demographics where they feel like I can go and do that and there's no pressure on me to talk. It's not a come and fix your mental health, come and talk about your problems. It's just a straightforward, come here, forget about the world, be around people who are going through similar things, build each other up, have a good time. And I genuinely think that's, again, bringing it full circle back to what you're trying to achieve. I think that's the role that coaches can have. We can create communities where the focus isn't trying to treat, diagnose, and medicate or anything from a mental health perspective, because we leave that to the professionals. But we can provide these safe environments where people feel they've got purpose, they've got a place, and they've got something to look forward to that just makes them feel a little bit better, even if it's for 10 minutes. Like that could make all the difference. 1 10-minute spell in a day could be the difference between seeing the end of it and not.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. That got deep real quick.
It's good. It was good though.
That was real good. That was real good. I think that's probably a really nice place to wind up, because we've been on for probably about an hour or so. So I think it's a good spot to kind of wind things up. So before we do, again, just remind everybody obviously who you are, handles, where they can find you, because obviously you're kicking off in the new year, and I really genuinely hope, I'm not one of these coaches that wants everybody to come and work with me. I want, if somebody wants to better their health, their fitness, and improve, and they want to work with a coach, I want every person to work with the coach they feel is best suited to them. And I'm hopeful that there's people listening that would have heard what you've said today and think, do you know what, that's the kind of environment I need. So if that's you listening, this is where you can find him. Let everybody know.
So Instagram is at Joey the Moo. TikTok will be the Moo Coach. Me as a coach, Moo is mindset, optimize, outperform. On that as well, my background, I've got a large background of resilience instructor, mental fitness instructor as well. I've done the mental health and exercise coaching course. I've got a degree in sports rehab, but in the realms of sports rehab, a master's in psychology. I'm trying to blend it all together to become a coach that isn't just about you going to the gym, lifting to make you feel good. It's just to make you improve yourself by 1% every day.
Absolutely love that, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll probably have another mojito off the air. We could have carried on for probably another 2 hours definitely. At least. So we'll definitely get you back on again, and we'll deep dive into more of this stuff. But thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening, and be sure to check in and listen to the next episode as well.